Come Monday morning, every media outlet covering Meghan's MasterChef Australia appearance was running the exact same 8 words in the exact same order, apparently pulled from the exact same source. Meghan triumphs, Duchess silences her critics. Identical phrasing, hitting dozens of outlets at the exact same moment.
Food and cooking to me is really a love language. I think it's such a great way to connect. It's something that can feel sentimental and meaningful, and it's how I show my nurturing and love for my friends, family.
That is not organic news forming around a surprising result. It is a coordinated press release wearing the costume of independent journalism. So let's actually walk through step by step exactly what happened on that Sunday night, because the gap between those celebratory headlines and the verifiable facts sitting underneath them is considerably wider than most of the copy-pasted coverage ever bothered to let on.
Out quite quickly that Meghan didn't know what she was talking about, couldn't really evaluate any of the food.
Let's start with a moment that should have been the easiest 30 seconds on television, but somehow became Meghan did not just show up as a random celebrity. She came with 2 seasons of a Netflix lifestyle show built on food and family, plus an actual food brand carrying her name. MasterChef should have been the perfect place for all of that to align. So when judges asked her one simple question, what is your favorite dish to cook for your family? It should have taken seconds to answer. No mystery box, no countdown, no technical test, just name a dish. Yet she called it a tough question because she had multiple palates to please, listing random ingredient categories instead.
And Poe has to say to Meghan, because Meghan's clearly never even watched the show before, like they're realizing this, like they have to explain everything. And this is exactly what the new idea piece.
Harry likes meat and creamy sauces, while she prefers grilled fish and citrus. After pausing to ask how Australians pronounce herbs, she never actually named a dish, not once during her whole response. The same thing happened during a second chance. Given raw ingredients and asked what she would personally whip up, she suggested pesto, basil, oil, and a blender. Something you can make in the time it takes to boil water on a show built entirely around professional level cooking techniques for a massive audience. When the real judges spoke up talking about things like acidity, texture, and how a contestant's cultural background shaped their plate, the sharp contrast was impossible to ignore. Hi, my husband is here. Meghan's commentary stayed in safer, more abstract territory. Words like beautiful, meaningful, or bold. Language that looks great on a product label, but offers very little to a contestant with 15 minutes left on the competition clock. If you find this kind of fact-checking useful, hitting the like button helps us keep investigating the stories most media outlets just repeat without checking.
She reportedly invited herself to appear on MasterChef Australia.
Now let's actually verify the numbers.
Because this is where the story gets genuinely fascinating, not just anecdotal. Network 10 released actual ratings on Monday morning. 1.6 million total viewers, supposedly the biggest overnight Sunday audience since July 2023, with a record 118,000 streams, up 16%. Those numbers are real. Nobody is disputing them. But what Meghan's team conveniently left out of the headlines is key context that Who magazine reportedly got straight from Channel 10. This was not actually the season's highest rated show. 2 other episodes from that same run actually did better. The ratings being celebrated was real, but incredibly narrow and much less impressive when compared to the season's actual performance. Oh God, it is so vomit-inducing. I have never seen anyone act so fake, but there is a broader comparison here too. The very same night, Seven's coverage of the Commonwealth Games drew 2.5 million viewers, while Nine's Lego Masters pulled 1.7 million. Both comfortably beat Meghan's show in the same country on the same night. MasterChef's season average was already sitting at 851,000, already growing regardless of any celebrity guest. So where did those extra viewers actually come from? Well, in the lead up, massive boycott calls had spread online with people publicly declaring they would not watch.
Meghan left production staff exhausted. A source said she was one of the most demanding celebrity guests.
Many viewers admitted later they tuned in anyway despite their planned boycott, curious to see a train wreck rather than genuinely interested in the cooking. And every single one of those hate watchers still counted toward the official ratings being used as validation. Here is the detail showing what that number was actually worth. Network 10 has not booked her back. In television, if a guest actually pulls ratings the way those glowing headlines claimed, you usually secure a return booking immediately while the momentum is fresh. The total silence on any future appearance gives us arguably more real insight than the raw ratings figure itself. Let's be totally fair here. One single clumsy TV answer doesn't instantly write off someone's actual relationship with food or cooking in general.
And because she's irrelevant without, basically acknowledging how irrelevant she is without her husband. This woman is a control freak, and she expects us to believe that Harry.
Lots of people who actually love to cook completely freeze under the intense pressure of live cameras, rapid fire questions, and the heavy knowledge that millions are watching in real time. Maybe she really does have those go-to family recipes and simply blanked under the bright lights, just like almost anyone would in that very spot. But what makes this whole scene worth examining isn't just that it happened. It's the glaring gap between her obvious discomfort and the massive commercial brand built around her supposed kitchen expertise across 2 whole seasons of television. Let's look at what didn't make the final cut at all, because that reveals an entirely different story that needs to be told.
Is so cringe-inducing. It absolutely boggles the mind as Meghan Markle attempts to seem like any sort of chef.
Multiple reports claim producers had to step in several times during the actual shoot, not because of drama, but because contestants naturally kept turning to the seasoned chef for advice instead of Meghan, the way people instinctively look to whoever clearly knows the trade. That left her giving much lighter feedback from the sidelines while real culinary advice was happening just a few feet away. Even with heavy editing, tightening the pauses, swapping reaction shots, and layering music over dead silence. All classic television tricks. The final cut still couldn't quite hide what was really going on. That unanswered dinner question, the odd pesto choice, and real judges driving the technical talk while Meghan mostly stayed on the sidelines.
Do we call you Duchess?
Oh, call me Meghan. Absolutely.
Thank you. Welcome, Meghan. We are so honoured you've joined us in the MasterChef kitchen. How does it feel to be back in Australia?
Oh, we're so excited. We love Australia.
Take this next detail, which is very easy to overlook, but incredibly telling. One of the hosts baked Meghan a special banana bread, a nod to a loaf she made for an Australian farming family on her 2018 royal tour. It was a warm, sweet gesture that should have sparked a friendly moment. Instead, by several accounts, her response felt surprisingly cold, completely failing to match the high energy of everyone else in the room. She just dryly asked for the recipe. To be fair, reading facial expressions from edited footage is notoriously hard and easy to misread, but the moment sparked so much chatter that we cannot just brush it aside if we want the full story.
Judge of Australian MasterChef, a household name, beloved figure in Australia, Po Ling Yao, cry.
Now, let's quickly touch on the controversy over the word royalty, because I know this has been talked about a lot already. Word is Meghan's team explicitly asked in writing to drop the word royalty from her intro, even though the entire episode's big challenge revolved around the phrase "a dish fit for a duchess." There's an obvious friction here worth pointing out, though we don't need to rehash the whole debate since you've likely heard it all. But what hasn't been looked at as closely is what happened to Po Ling Yu right after the show. And I think it deserves some real focus. Poe isn't just some random hired presenter. She competed on MasterChef, Australia's very first season back in 2009, made the final, and has spent 17 years with the show, eventually becoming a permanent judge. That kind of history builds a deep bond with viewers that can't be. When rumors broke that the royalty introduction had supposedly upset Meghan, most of the media coverage painted Poe as the troublemaker who caused a mess that needed to be cleaned up. But what that narrative missed, Harry apologized for the interruption, saying he was sorry to disrupt the shoot. Some fans found it incredibly sweet, while others called it totally staged and pure cringe. Both women were apparently outside the studio when that intro actually played. Neither of them heard it live. Poe certainly hadn't used the word to make some big statement. She just introduced a guest using the exact same tone that the whole episode's promo campaign and main challenge were already built around. According to an insider quoted by New Idea, Poe actually wanted to apologize directly and was ready to reach out that very day, but was apparently told not to. Producers in Meghan's camp apparently made it clear they wanted no contact. A host with 17 years of goodwill with the network, who did absolutely nothing wrong besides sticking to the script of the show itself, simply wanted to make things right and was flatly turned away.
Meghan goes on MasterChef, and as you can imagine, it doesn't go well. The reviews, not good. The reception, not good.
Channel 10 later posted a clip showing the two of them finding a real connection in the kitchen, laughing together. That was the network's official spin. Yet another report claimed more sweet moments got left on the cutting room floor. Which story is true? It probably is not a simple black and white answer. Real warmth and a blocked apology could easily have existed at the same time with only one side showing up on screen. We should look at the Poe drama with more nuance. The actual stories do not really clash with each other as neatly as some basic villain story might claim. There could have been real warmth between the two during filming. Maybe Poe's introduction really was just a harmless slip within the show's usual setup. And perhaps the blocked apology came from nervous producers or PR teams trying to keep things simple rather than Meghan holding some personal grudge.
Inside Meghan Markle's MasterChef Australia debut, I love how they're calling it a debut, because that to me implies like she might be back. Trust me, she will not be back.
Nervous producers and personal grudges can look exactly the same, even if they come from totally different places. It is worth sitting with that mystery instead of forcing a neat explanation that does not fit the facts. Let's talk about that FaceTime call, because the timing is incredibly telling. Mid-shoot, someone apparently walked onto the set with a phone, showing Harry on screen, causing a wave of excitement among the contestants and judges. TV sets do not just let random calls interrupt a shoot. Sound, cameras, and crew moves are always worked out ahead of time. This whole thing was likely planned, not just some...
In her mind, this probably tracks. But you can't market royal prestige and then expect people not to question moves like this. The audience is trying to reconcile two very different identities.
The timing of the call is the real kicker here. Harry was in Canberra that day visiting veterans, having flown back to Britain just 9 days before for his highly publicized talk with Charles at Highgrove. Insiders on the show claimed a live cameo from Harry was actually written into the contract, which might have triggered extra pay. Even if that money detail is off, the call worked wonders for the storyline either way. It arrived right when Meghan's culinary credit was about to run out, shifting the focus away from the food and straight onto her marriage and the royal cameo. Suddenly, that royal FaceTime cameo turned a simple cooking show into something huge. But they were
asked. The prompt was, you need to cook a meal fit for a duchess. So I don't understand. And her PR team...
Poe reportedly landed the biggest laugh of the show with a random joke about the fancy chandeliers, showing that real chemistry existed between them despite the previous rumors. And let us be honest, that surprise FaceTime call seemed to spark some genuine warmth between whatever its actual business or narrative purpose, did seem to spark real warmth between Harry and Poe specifically. That chandelier joke landed well and showed a truly spontaneous rapport rather than something fake from start to finish. Not every single part of a timed moment has to be cold and prearranged. Let's talk about the two competing rumors that popped up after filming wrapped, because both deserve a fair look instead of just choosing a side.
From what I've been told, that contestants of the show, they were asked to create a dish that was fit for a duchess, okay, using ingredients that Meghan had handpicked from the pantry.
A gossip column called Naughty But Nice published insider claims calling Meghan one of the most difficult guests they ever had, coming with a massive list of demands and wanting everything to revolve around her. That rumor spread like wildfire within hours, without anyone doing actual fact checking. But another reporter went on the record with people who were actually there. Several contestants there painted a totally different picture, describing her as incredibly warm, thoughtful, and sweet. One praised her helpful feedback, while another said she was incredibly calm and present with everyone. Her team hit back, calling those rumors completely false. Demanding guest claims are totally fake. Here is the tough part we actually have to sit with, honestly. Anonymous production crew members have very little reason to lie, but they also face zero accountability if they are wrong or exaggerating. Contestants still building careers in a brutal industry have every reason to play nice, no matter what they really went through. 4 people backing her up on the record is strong proof. Still, it is not the full picture. Both sides of this can contain some truth at the same time, and neither side wants to share details that mess up their favorite version. Now, let us talk money, because that actually cleared up pretty quickly once verified. Rumors claimed Meghan got 380,000 Australian dollars for just one day of filming, a number that went everywhere in hours, treated like total gospel. But when asked directly, Network 10 reportedly confirmed she did not make a cent, saying the deal was set up as a charity donation instead. That massive payday rumor seems to be flat out fake. Still, clearing up the cash does not make the bigger issues go away. Critics still point to how the cooking challenge was specifically themed around honoring a duchess, with the whole marketing push hyping up her royal ties. Even if she did not get paid directly, her royal status was the main selling point of that show, clashing directly with the 2020 deal she reportedly made with the palace, explicitly warning against cashing in on her title. People can argue about how much that matters, since no money changed hands. But the core contradiction here of avoiding the word royalty on screen while using it to sell the whole episode is a very real issue. We also need to look at how these opposing stories are weaponized, depending on which media outlet is telling them. Sites that hate Meghan rush to blast out the anonymous demanding guest rumors, never questioning if those sources are reliable or have an agenda. Outlets more friendly to her put those positive contestant quotes front and center while brushing off the anonymous gossip. Neither side is actually doing real journalism. Both are just picking their favorite facts based on a biased agenda, something to remember no matter which side of the story you want to believe. Now, this is where the drama ties into something much bigger, and honestly, it is the most fascinating part of this whole mess. 3 days after the show aired, Meghan shared photos of her kids visiting Althorpe House, the Spencer estate, where Diana is buried. No caption added. Yet reports say People magazine immediately compared the visit to Diana's childhood summers at that exact estate with her. own boys. Same views, almost identical framing. When a specific comparison like that pops up in a magazine her team usually feeds, it feels like planned PR, not a coincidence. Though to be fair, that is just an educated guess rather than a proven fact. Now add in more details from that very same time. Netflix apparently cut ties on their With Love Meghan deal after 2 seasons, and her As Ever brand deal wrapped up too. At the same time, some major Montecito friendships were reportedly freezing over. Around then, Meghan had reportedly filed 12 AZ Ever trademark applications in Australia back in September 2024, getting approval just a month before MasterChef, which proves her push down under was planned far ahead, not just a random idea from one TV cameo, one industry insider called this MasterChef appearance a safe test run for a brand new market, far away from the harsh spotlight she usually gets in America and Britain. Plus, rumors are flying about a Netflix meeting set for later in 2026, maybe tied to the 30th anniversary of Diana's death in 2027. If that is true, those Althorpe Estate photos look less like a casual family trip and more like a calculated trail of breadcrumbs for an upcoming project. Now, none of this by itself proves a master plan. That would be overstating facts versus what we can reasonably guess from a chain of events is definitely worth noting. A cameo that pulled real, though definitely puffed up ratings. A dispute over cash that wasn't true, but exposed a very real friction underneath. Then those pictures at a highly symbolic spot coming days later, linking right back to Diana in a way several separate sources say was completely intentional. Let us pause before the final thought. It is incredibly easy to lose your way in a story with this many threads. What actually happened isn't the clean win the headlines claimed. And it is not an outright disaster either, despite what critics wanted to see. It is something more specific. A managed TV show got big but inflated views, showing real gaps between the image sold and the reality. It looks like one piece of a much bigger strategy, one stretching far beyond a single Sunday night cooking show. What do you honestly think? Does the full ratings context we walk through change how you see this whole appearance? Or were the hyped headlines close enough to the real picture anyway, even without the missing context? Do you really buy the Althorpe to Netflix connection as a deliberate, coordinated plan over months? Or are you just seeing patterns in what might be random coincidences, events that only look connected because you are looking for them? Tell me your truly honest thoughts on all of this down in the comments section, because I think this is one of those cases where people will disagree. It all depends on how much you value the background facts versus those flashy headline numbers. If this careful, deeper fact check is exactly why you watch, go ahead and subscribe to Palace Insider so you do not miss the next one. This thread keeps going all the way to 2027, and we have not heard the end of it.